Hi, welcome to Salt and Burn This. I'm Sami.
And I'm Valerie.
And this is our Supernatural Rewatch podcast.
Each week, we're going to break down an episode in order with lots of details, so nothing's left out.
And we throw in some personal nuggets and stories and research to mix it up just a little bit.
Because not only are we fans of the show, but like Sam and Dean, we've also had our fill of road trips.
Yeah, but for theater, not for hunting ghosts and demons.
And not in a super sexy muscle car.
Anyway, shall we?
We shall. So I still have my down comforter out on the couch from when my folks were here and I was sleeping on the couch. And the dog is just like
in heaven. Yeah.
She does the floofy floof, the foof, 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 and then just doesn't just lay down. She just flops down in it and then does this stretch out. And then it just molds to her body. It's like a Tempur-Pedic, doggy blanket.
Yeah,
it's hysterical.
Yeah.
Living her best doggy life in the down comforter.
I know. So
I want to be one of our dogs.
I know, it's funny when I hear one of them sigh sometimes. It's like, oh, what do you have to worry about, you little freeloader? You sleep all day, you get treats. Right. Is life really hard for you right now? Or are you just going through an existential crisis?
What can I do to make your life easier?
Yeah.
Yes.
Assholes.
I was walking backstage and I didn't realize there was anybody else back there. I was just getting ready to call 1 hour, which usually means there's nobody backstage yet. And I just went from my office to backstage and I went, and I didn't realize that there was somebody there who just needed space and they heard me sigh and they're like, what could you possibly? I was like, you weren't supposed to be back here to hear me do that.
Okay, so we were talking about TikTok before I pressed record, but I went on TikTok and I asked, because I was really stuck on this Samhain thing.
Yes.
Because I really don't like it. I like it when I know how to pronounce a word exactly correct. And I don't know if that's from, my singing background or even just being in the opera world where they have diction coaches for all the different languages that they sing. But it's also interesting, especially when it's an alphabet is formed differently than what
phonetically
the American
like.
English, or what it phonetically to the American eye looks like. So I did. I went on TikTok and I was like, how do you pronounce this word? Because here are all of the different ways that I have found that you can pronounce it, or that they, it's said this way, it's said this way, it's said this way.
Samhain, yes.
Yeah. No, one of them was Shavna, which was really weird.
Sounds very Yiddish.
It does. It does sound Yiddish. Anyway, there's this girl in there. Her name was B-E-A. She did a stitch with me, and she, not only pronounced it, you can say Samhain. It's okay. Nobody, Irish is gonna come bang on your door at night. And it's well, you don't know the people that I know.
Yeah. Don't say that. Yeah. You don't know.
But it was really cool. And then she ran through almost all of the pagan holidays. I think she was Wiccan or something. So she's very familiar with the language and all of the pagan Wiccan holidays. So anyway, I just wanted to call her out. So thanks for being nice about it.
And not condescending. And yeah. Oh, that was nice. And so, but what did she ended up saying?
She said you can say Samhain or Samhain. Or Samhain. It's okay.
You hear that, Jared?
Yeah. And then there's this book that I'm reading called Hellbent, which is a sequel to this other book called The Ninth House. It's very adjacent in this kind of world of, it's occult, it's magic, it's ghosts, et cetera, et cetera. But then they talked about Samhain in that book. And it was a chapter I had read the other day. It was oh my God, this word is following me. It's once it comes into your, your
vernacular,
broken,
yes. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of when you're, you're shopping for a car and suddenly see the car that you're looking for everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. Or your dog suddenly.
Yeah.
Like when you got Marvel, I'm like, oh my God, there's so many Pomeranians out here. My world is now all about Pomeranians. Speaking of saying thank you, I should have done this months ago. One of our fans baked me and the opera production a salt and burn this chocolate chip cookie.
Oh,
And
yes, you sent me a picture and you did not
yes,
save any for me, so.
I did not. I absolutely did not. But it was the size of basically a pizza. I mean, it
Yeah.
was huge, like a large pizza, and it was beautifully round. It had our logo on it, salt and burn this. It was perfect. It was delicious. So I just want to do a shout out to Andrea White, who has been faithful to us, not only in listening, but in baking us some scrumptious snacks. So thank you. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. It
Unnecessary.
looked amazing. I'm sure it tasted amazing as well, but I cannot attest to that personally.
It was. Yeah, I saved you the calories. I threw myself on that grenade for you. So no, look out, everybody. I'll eat this.
Season 4, Episode 8, Wishful Thinking. Sam and Dean investigate when a small town's wishing well actually starts to grant the people's wishes. Written by Ben Udland and Lou Bolo, and directed by Robert Singer.
Bobby! Hysterical. It still cracks me up to this day that they named a character 100% after themselves. Not just a little, fake ID badge with a name on it.
It's so funny that you say that. This episode is full of that. Is full of characters and call-outs to the production team.
Yep. I can't wait to see which ones you found. I found a few. There were some that I read about that I couldn't even find. I was like, how did you even see that name? But
we'll get there when we get there. Okay, so this recap was interesting because it starts off, it's a lot of Big Daddy Cass, who's like, I pulled you from hell and I can put you right back, and like very serious
show me respect
and stuff. And the burden that Dean is dealing with, plus some suggestions that Dean actually does remember his time in hell, particularly the line with Uriel, after threatening Sam. There's no Cass in this episode. There is no Uriel. There are no angels. There are no mentions or suggestions about the apocalypse or the seals or anything. The only thing is Dean's hell trip.
Flashes. Yeah, flashes of hell. Interesting.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That they brought, and it was a long recap. Mm-hmm. It wasn't just standard little clip. They did beat you over the head with Castiel and nothing. So it was weird that they did that because I was expecting it. I was expecting a poof, angel on the shoulder type of thing to happen in quiet moments, like maybe if Dean was off by himself, Castiel was going to walk into the scene as he does.
Right. I mean, for 3.5 seasons, they've done this formula of, hints in the recap are probably what you're going to see in the episode. And it was like,
nope,
75% not.
Yep. Just the hell bits.
Yeah.
Angel threats. That's what I wrote down. Nothing but angel threats.
It was nothing but angel threats.
And there was none of that. So well done, curveball, supernatural. The title, because me and titles of the show. So Wishful Thinking. First of all, I thought of Wishful Drinking by Carrie Fisher. Was one of the books she wrote.
Right? Okay.
Yes, and it's a fabulous book. But that's the first thing I thought of, which is nothing to do with this episode, other than the title made me think of Carrie Fisher, R.I.P. Carrie Fisher. But this story is like a complete homage to Needful Things, Stephen King. Exact same premise, but 110 times worse because it's Stephen King. So I love how Stephen King storytelling is not interwoven throughout Supernatural, but his premises get touched upon his evil genius is often alluded to with the storylines, which I love. So, Stephen King scared the crap out of me as a kid reading books. I was horrified by every Stephen King book I read.
Ever read a Stephen King book?
They are scary books. They are very deeply disturbing psychologically. Why did I pick this book up, and why is it so dark outside?
Yeah.
Books. I wanted to do the map quest out front.
Okay.
Just because gorgeous scenery in this episode.
Oh my
gorgeous,
God. Yes.
Gorgeous scenery. And like amazing weather. It wasn't raining, it wasn't wet, it wasn't snowy. Wherever they filmed, wherever. They filmed it in Squamish, British Columbia, which I thought looked like a beautiful Colorado town.
It did.
But it takes place in, quote, Concrete, Washington, which does exist, but is not Squamish, British Columbia. But I just want to say thumbs up Squamish, because gorgeous, gorgeous town. Never been there. I am putting this on my map. I am putting this on my map quest to go and see, just because I'll never get there, because
it's Concrete or British Columbia?
Not Concrete,
okay.
British Columbia. I'm sure Concrete, Washington is lovely. I want to go see Squamish.
It is near a lake, because like where it actually lies is kind of in between Seattle and Vancouver. And it's kind of not right on the edge of a lake, but a lake is very nearby. And I didn't write down the name of the lake, and it's kind of in the very like northwestern corner.
Okay.
I'm sure it's also very beautiful. Maybe not like that, but
beautiful. I just want to say that was one thing I loved about this episode is it was gorgeous. There was nothing supernatural about this setting. It was just bright, sunny mountain town, gorgeous blue skies.
I also want to call out, before we start talking about the now and then the rest of the synopsis, there are two, at least as I could see, supernatural repeats in this episode.
Yes. I knew one of them. I saw one of them. Who was the second?
The woman who plays Hope, which we'll see in the last half of the episode.
Yeah,
her name is
Skin, right?
Yes, she was. She was the victim in Skin, and her name is Anita Brown. The second is Michael Teagan, who was the teddy bear. And he was a teacher in Bloody Mary.
Right, he's the guy who's like, settle down. And then she like throws her stool through
in the science class.
In the science lab. Yeah. He's in he's in future episodes as well.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, I don't know which ones, but I did see that he does. So I'm like, way to go. Yeah. The teddy bear, which we'll get to, when I was watching it, I was like, who is this guy?
Yeah.
Who is this actor? Because brilliant. I would die. I mean, I would kill for like a role like that.
Yeah.
Just anyway, we'll get to it. Yay! Teddy bear. So the now. It's like a typical scary movie opening, right? Naked woman in the shower all by herself. It's not a home shower. She's, in like a gym locker room or something. Yes. She's by herself, but she hears something and we see something, but she doesn't see what we see. So she goes back to showering. She's super sexy in the shower, of course, and is doing all the like scary movie zoom in and zoom outs and stuff like that. And I'm laughing because of how the scene ends. She turns off the shower. She gets out of the shower. She's drying off, and we still see something watching her. And then not only watching her, but following her out of the shower area into the like sink area where you would, dry your hair and, put on your deodorant and stuff. And we see like footprints following her, but we don't see a body.
Yeah.
We don't see what's attached to the footprints. And she does the whole, hello? Is somebody there? No? Okay, I'll just go back to being vulnerable in a bathroom.
Yep.
And she takes the towel off that she's been using to dry her hair, and she goes to like just toss it on the hook next to her. And in the toss, it ends up not falling onto the hook, but draping over the head of whoever was standing next to her. So all you see is an invisible hanging towel. I mean, the towel is just like draped over an invisible body.
Yeah.
And then you hear this like prepubescent squeaky voice be like, Mrs. Armstrong. You know, and she screams, and her scream blends into the title splash scream with the, you know, the angel feathers flapping around. Hello, Mrs. Armstrong. Oh gosh. And that kid, this prepubescent ghost boy, invisible thing, also very funny.
Yeah.
Also very good. Kudos to this kid who later reveals himself nakedly.
Very. I was a little like, okay, CW. Right. Getting a little risque. All right. But now, Sam and Dean are at a very tacky bar. We've seen these bars everywhere in real life, such as at Chili's or an Apple. It's got like all of the flair on the walls.
Like the Fridays.
Yeah, it was like a Fridays. And plus the waiter, is also covered in flair.
Bits of flair, which we all got from Office Space, of course. Yeah, he's got his suspenders with all the pins, not only like pins and buttons, but like flashy pins and buttons.
Yeah.
And he is as flashy and bubbly as his pins. He's like, okay, bros, you guys ready for something chimichanga? You know, the way they always like dress up the names of their food.
Yeah.
And I love that the boys are like, no. And my first thought is, what are they doing in this restaurant?
Yeah.
Why are they at a restaurant and not like a diner?
Yeah.
You know, that was my first thought.
And maybe this is why. Maybe they've tested like, all right, this is what we got, so let's just go here and eat. Right. And then this kid reminded them, this is why we go to diners.
Yeah. Yeah. And he came back a couple of times too and interrupted them every time they went to like talk about something important. The kid like pops up. So you ready for some exploding drinks? You know?
He just looked like a cartoon character. It was kind of amazing. Out of nowhere, but I enjoyed him.
I don't know if you noticed this. This was something I circled. There's a 100% mirror take of Raiders of the Lost Ark in this scene. Because what are they doing at this restaurant? They're not eating, they're drinking, right? Dean's got like a row of shots in front of him or a couple of shots in front of him. When Dean reaches for the shot glass and drinks it, it is 100%, 95% mirror image of the scene in Raiders where Miriam's in her in her bar. It's when the guy that she's doing the contest with reaches for his last drink before he passes out and she wins. Him reaching for the drink is the exact same camera angle and hand motion and fingers out. It's like it's the exact same shot that they did in Raiders that Dean does here. I know, sorry. It called out to me. I had to say it.
Was that something like you looked up to see?
After I watched it, I was like, oh my God, that has to be. So I went back and I pulled up that scene from Raiders. It wasn't anything I read or saw. It's just when I watched it, I was like, recall.
That feels like a reach, but it's okay.
All right. Well, maybe I will admit that, but it was such
I think the close up, like if you're talking about the close up angle of the shot glasses on the table, I think that was just to show, look at how many shots of whiskey that Dean has been drinking.
Yes.
In the middle of the day.
Okay. When we're done, I'll go back and I'll show you because I have the clip saved. I'm not going to push it. I'm just saying this is why I thought of it. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm just saying this is why I thought of it. So the boys are drinking and talking. Dean is still denying that he remembers hell, even though in the previous episode, Sam did approach him and say, you know, Uriel says you remember hell. And Dean says, no, I don't. Right at the end of that episode, didn't Sam take Uriel's advice?
I think this is the first time that Sam has approached Dean about it. Because the end of the last episode was Uriel saying that to Sam, and then we see Dean on the bench with Cass, and we don't see the boys reunite after that bit of information is revealed to Sam. So I think they're coming down from a conversation where Sam is like, hey, so Uriel mentioned
said that you might still remember hell.
Yeah.
The bottom line is Dean is still saying no.
Yeah.
I don't. I'm, mistaken. So Sam goes back to, all right, well, we have some potential jobs to what shall we look at today? And in the meantime, there's hot chick walks by and, Dean does his ogle. So Horn Dog Dean still intact.
Yes. Made further up front when Sam is like, "Oh, there's a vengeful spirit that's attacking women in the showers
shower
of the gym."
Dean's like, pay the check.
Yep,
Waiter.
say no more. We're good.
Yep, off we go. So off they go to Concrete, Washington, where women have been attacked in the shower. And they drive into this gorgeous mountain town, which again I cannot go on enough about.
So Sam is meeting up with the victim of the ghost attack at a Lucky Chin's Chinese restaurant. She seems a little bit woo-woo, but she's nice enough. He is posing as the author of his book. Working title is Supernatural, so we get a little bit of meta-ness happening here.
And foreshadowing, which I don't think they knew about.
I don't think so either. No, I think
but it's
an accident that they
yes.
a happy accident. So she's telling her ghost story, but it gets weird when she's like, "Oh, he was calling me by my name," but as in Mrs. Armstrong.
Mrs. Armstrong
and when I fell down the stairs, not pushed as the article had said, then it helped her up and said, "Please don't tell my mom."
And Sam's like, "Okay, that is weird."
Yeah.
That's strange. Because he kept trying to say, so was it like angry? Was it, terrorizing you? And she's like, well, no. In fact, it helped me up after I fell down the stairs, which Sam's like, okay.
Yeah. Sam, the ghost hunter, is like, you know what? That is weird.
That is weird.
A ghost would do that.
Yeah.
He's also getting very distracted by a couple displaying some major
PDA in this Chinese restaurant. Yeah. Yeah. And I like the amount of time I have to say in this episode, there is so much silence. There is more on-camera silence of characters just looking and observing than actual dialogue, I feel.
Yeah.
Well, no, I take that back. Not actual dialogue, but in past episodes, there are a lot more quote takes of just faces of just the boys thinking about what they're watching.
Yes.
And this is one of those moments because Sam is so distracted by this couple at the table that even Mrs. Armstrong's like, hello, come back, talk about me. But so outside, Sam and Dean get reconnoiter, and Dean hasn't had any luck. He searched the showers because I'm sure he won that rock paper scissors. So there was no EMF in the shower. He quotes Poltergeist, says this place is clean. There's nothing here. And as they're discussing that there's nothing here, like a group of boys goes running down the street chasing this little kid. So I would say they're like, maybe 7, 8, 9 years old, maybe 10.
I don't know. I'm a terrible judge of child ages.
One of the kids is clearly being chased by like a group of 3, slightly bigger kids. And Dean, being Dean, is like, run, Forrest, run, which is
that's a jerk thing to do. Yeah.
Yes, total jerk thing to do, which of course
you're a grown man. What are you doing?
Right. And then they're distracted by over their other shoulders after watching these kids go running off. They hear 2 grown men arguing, and it's like a hunter arguing with the sheriff of the town about, I saw a Bigfoot. I know what I saw. It wasn't a bear. It was Bigfoot. And so Sam and Dean are like, aha, maybe this is for us.
Yes. They go in posing as FBI agents.
Insert themselves into this conversation.
Yes. That's exactly what they do. Okay, tell us where these tracks are. So off they go into the forest to search out these tracks. Now, here's one of these internal callouts. The newspaper that Dean is holding on the steps of the health facility, where it says on the front, man wins $200 million lottery ticket, something like that. The man in the photo is the set director. His name is George Newman. And the article is written by, or the author byline is Christopher Cooper, who is the prop master.
So you've got the set designer, the set deck, and the props master.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. They call him out by name at the end of the episode too.
Oh, they do?
In print. imprint they do.
Oh, yes.
So off they go into the woods, and while Sam and Dean are talking about like looking for the tracks of this Bigfoot, they're like, Bigfoot doesn't exist. Everybody knows that. Everybody, all the hunters, everybody knows Bigfoot doesn't exist. And then they look down and they stumble across a giant footprint.
Foot.
Yeah, like a giant, that's a big foot. And then a take to each other with no words spoken.
Yep.
You know?
Okay, so then they follow these big tracks to a liquor store whose door has been smashed down. The inside of the store has been ransacked of girl drinks, specifically.
It's like, what is it? Bailey's and amaretto, or Irish cream and amaretto. And while Dean's checking out the damage to the alcohol and stealing alcohol.
Yes, he steals one.
Sam finds that the entire porn rack is empty, with the exception of like one magazine.
Yeah.
So whatever was in there stole girly drinks and porn.
Yes, and then left behind a tuft of brown fur in the rack. So the boys go outside, they sit themselves on a bench and are just speechless.
Yeah, for moments and moments of silence.
They're just racking their minds of like what in our library or our index of monsters could do this has a big cartoonish looking footprint.
Footprint, yeah. And Dean's like, I got nothing. and then
it's either a joke or actual Bigfoot would be more like a deep woods Duchovny.
Right. Which, by the way, not an alcoholic, but yes, a sex addict. So, but so then a little girl goes riding by on a bicycle with a little basket in front, and drops a porn magazine in front of Sam and Dean by mistake. It like flew out of her basket. Mm-hmm. And then they watch her carry the items of this basket and leave it on the steps of this liquor store with a note that says, sorry, and then she hops on her bike and rides away. And again, Dean and Sam left in silence. Like, what the, what is going on in this town?
I love this camera, this clip. It's like such a classic clip, which like when someone from afar like peeks over the side of the building and then there's somebody else like on top, it's like two heads like poking out of the side of the building at the same time. It's very physically funny to me.
It's very, very vaudevillian.
Yes.
So they decide to follow this little girl. How? I don't know, because she rode her little bike and they had walked through the woods to this liquor store. So they had to walk back to the car, get the car, drive around town. And I guess they just drove around until they found the house with this little girl's bike out front.
I think that's what they did. Yeah. Cause she's got a very like a yellow milk crate. Yeah. Attached to her bike. So I think they just kind of drove around until they found that.
So they walk up to this house and before they knock, they're like, oh God, is this going to be like Harry and the Hendersons? Which I just want to call out to. So Harry and the Hendersons, 80s movies, like way, way, way back. But a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, was in Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, wow.
And he was also in Twin Peaks. And when I found this out, I was like neck deep in Twin Peaks. I was like, what? You were in Twin Peaks? And he would just regale me with all these stories like backstage while we were waiting for entrances. And I fell in love with this man. He was the nicest guy. And as a young, girl in theater looking up to this very successul, in my eyes, actor who was also taking time to work with students. I was like, I love this guy. He has since passed on, but his name's Arnie Stenseth. And if you're ever at the U.S. Postal Museum in D.C., he has an exhibit. He plays like a postal worker in one of the video exhibits. And I didn't know that until I was with my nieces. And I was like, oh my God, it's Arnie. So anyway, so when they mentioned Harry and the Hendersons, I automatically went to Arnie Stenseth, who was just a lovely, lovely actor.
Aw, that's pretty cool.
So, yes.
All right, so the boys knock on this door and this little girl answers it. Her parents are not home. And they struggle with the right question to ask a little girl.
A little girl home alone. Yes.
She's so cute. I loved this little girl and her delivery and the earnestness of everything that she did.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're struggling with like what do we ask a little girl? And
Yeah.
they land on, have you seen someone maybe tall, I'm
Like,
guessing, and
tall,
furry? And that's all they need to say, because she's like, oh no, is he in trouble?
Again, Dean and Sam look to each other, no words.
Yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
yeah.
Like, oh
She's
no.
like, it's my teddy bear. I think that he's sick and I don't know what to do. Again, dumbfounded for a minute. And then Dean has a very, very smart and cute idea.
Quick thinker.
Yes.
Well, we just happen to be, we're teddy bear doctors.
We are
Teddy bear doctors. And they pull out, they like reach into their, oh, it's time for, an ID.
Badge,
so they pull out a badge, which I think they were health inspector badges or something. And Sam kind of goes along with it. Yes, yes, wag, wag, wag. Can't see it so fast. This was an alias moment. Like, I couldn't see Sam's badge, but I could see Dean's badge, and it was
John McCarthy.
Yes. I have no idea who that is.
That is the first assistant director on the show. So I didn't see it. I didn't see the name on it at that point. I saw it later. Because he flashes it again. He flashes it a couple times, but this one was like too fast, so I didn't even try. But he is John McCarthy, who is the first AD on the show. Sam, who I also saw later on, is Adrian Diepold or Diepold.
Right, who's the second AD?
Correct.
Yes. Okay, that's the one I could. Okay. Yay. All right, now we're up to date. Sorry about that.
She's like, oh, great, come in. And again, this is Dean's face acting. He's like, great. It just gave us like, oh my God, what the fuck is my life right now?
Right. We hunt demons, and now we're going to go
be teddy bear doctors.
Look at a giant teddy bear doctor. And I love that she's like showing them up the stairs. She's like, okay, teddy bear's in my room and he's kind of grumpy. That's her description of him. Yeah. She knocks because she's a sweet little girl, opens the door, and we see a giant life-size teddy bear like sitting on the edge of the bed, like rocking. And he looks at the camera and he's like, shut the door. And he's an angry teddy bear.
Yeah. And this was like, I loved Sam's face after this, because it was
what
complete shock, disbelief. Like, what did we just see? What I thought we saw?
Yeah, I feel like saying, show us what the fuck without actually saying what the fuck. Yes. His face. Like, we did just see that.
Yes.
So then now they have to like approach this little girl, and they're like, so little girl, Audrey, how long has he been like this? It's like, how do they get to the bottom of this investigation when all they have is a little girl as a witness?
Yeah. So she says,
how did this happen?
Yeah. Well, she says that she wished for her teddy bear to be big and real and to talk, so she could have, parties, and, she could play with like a real size talking stuffed animal friend.
Talking teddy, yeah.
She wished for this at the wishing well, but now he's ouch in the head sad and smells like the bus. So it didn't quite work out.
Not what she really wished for.
So they try again to open the door and talk to the teddy. And he is just so disparaged from watching all of the sad events on the news. He's impatient at Audrey because all she wants are tea parties, because she's 8. He's
like, is this all there is? Is violence and death and tea parties? Is this all
Dean just literally can't take it. He's like, I don't know what to do with this.
I'm a hunter. Yeah. I can kill demons, but I cannot face a life-size depressed teddy bear. Yeah.
And they have an aside away from Audrey where Sam struggles with the question. It's like, do we have to kill this teddy bear?
The teddy bear?
How do we
that was
do
kind
it?
of the quote of the day. That was the quote of the day. Do we have to kill this teddy bear?
Yeah.
You already mentioned the actor's name, who plays the bear, right?
Yeah, Michael Tegan.
Michael Tegan. Loved him.
Yeah.
His terrible teddy bear. But at least they didn't show him like flipping through porn. He was just
Yeah.
watching the news on TV,
Yeah.
drinking, and was depressed. So I'm
Yes.
kind of glad they didn't show us that
Anything.
side of his
Yes.
his life.
But they're like, well, I guess we could, but we don't know we could shoot it, we could burn it, we could do both, but
And maybe this isn't the actual problem.
exactly.
Like, symptom, but not this isn't
Yes.
what's actually going on in this town. And so and then they're like, Audrey, where are your parents?
Mhm.
Oh, they wish they were in Bali, so I guess they're in Bali. So her parents were like, peace out, kid.
Yeah.
They wish to go to Bali and left her alone to wish for a friend, a life-size teddy
Mhm.
bear friend. So they tell Audrey a terrible lie about the bear having lollipop disease, and they send
Mhm.
her off to a neighbor to go, to have someone take care of her while they quote take care of the
Yes, because
lollipop
it's very
diseased
contagious.
bear.
It's a very contagious disease.
Yes.
Again, I just love this girl where she's just like, oh, okay, yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
I loved this
great.
kid.
She was great.
But before, he was like, but also, where is this wishing well that you speak of?
Yep. Cut to.
Yes, cut to the restaurant. However, a note about this teddy bear costume, which became, in the crew side, the highlight of the episode.
I can see why.
It was almost going to be an animatronic bear, but it was too expensive. And then they found this place in LA who there was a project that had just done like a bunch of mascot things. Like they had a ton of mascot suits. So they said, hey, could we borrow one? And it got stuck in customs because it didn't have the correct paperwork. So it almost couldn't get into the country of Canada.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I can't imagine being.
I know.
Well, actually, I can, because we just had like all of our costumes not show up for a show.
Yeah.
So I can imagine just like the teddy bear not showing up.
And then, of course, Jared and Jensen, when they first saw the teddy bear and tried to talk to it, very hard clip to get through. You can only imagine.
I don't know if it was the first time or maybe it was the second time. I'm gonna think it was the first time that I worked with Michael. I had to wear a dancing bear costume.
Yes.
Good times. Good times. Good times.
Okay.
And if anyone wants to write in and ask for a picture of me in the bear costume, I will post it, but only if you ask for it. So cut to little boy that we saw being chased earlier is now looking into the wishing well, and it's that great POV camera lens. The camera's in the wishing well looking up at the little boy who's looking into the water. He throws in a coin and then up turns and starts to walk out, and as he walks out he brushes by Sam and Dean, who have walked into this Chinese restaurant to check out the wishing well.
Yeah. So like, okay, well, let's see if this actually works. Dean throws in a coin, doesn't say anything out loud, but seconds later, a delivery man comes in through the restaurant and says, hey, did anyone order a foot-long Italian sub with jalapenos? No?
Oh, that was quick.
Yeah.
Did he even for a hot second, though, think about what wishing would do? Especially given his, like, gin, experience?
Yeah.
I don't think he did.
I don't think
Unless
he did.
He just thought wishing for sandwiches.
I think that's what it was. It's just like, let me ask for something really simple instead of like life-changing.
Life changes, right? But then he turns to Sam and is like, why don't you make a wish?
Yeah.
And he assumes that Sam, in making a wish, would wish for all of this to be gone, that they would just go back to simpler times and no hunting and none of that stuff. And surprisingly, Sam says, that's not what I would wish for. There is no going back. These are our lives. And that's not what I would wish for. And Dean's like, all right, well, what would you wish for? Because Sam's still not going to wish, but if he could, says, Lilith's head on a platter, bloody. Dean is actually taken aback by that. He's like, ooh, all right, that's violent and visual and, okay.
Yeah.
Not something you would expect Sam to actually say out loud because it was such a violent image.
Right. A little bit before that, they're like sitting down and eating a sandwich. It's just like, I don't know, the sandwich is delicious. It seems pretty harmless for me. But maybe we should hold off, on more wishes until we figure out what this is. then the restaurant owner or the head chef or manager, somebody comes by and it's just like, hey, you can't eat outside food in my restaurant. And this is where they throw up their health inspector badges again. But as health inspectors, not as teddy bear doctors, and say, we're going to slap you with the 56C because of your rat infestation or something like that. So they need to shut the place down.
That same makey outy couple is still in the restaurant, though.
Yes.
That same.
They are back. They are back and still PDAing it up. The owner, the restaurant owner, his badge says Mr. M. Liu. Mm-hmm. Mary Ann Liu is the graphic designer at the set, and she is of like Chinese background, so she was kind of used as a consultant in making this restaurant, you know, to like make sure anything that was written in Chinese said the correct thing.
Right.
She is also the creator of Busty Asian Beauties.
Get out! Oh my gosh.
Is the porn magazine that falls out of the little girl's bike. Basket, you know, in front of Sam and Dean, and they like pointed out. He's like, she seems a little young for Busty Asian Beauties. So yeah, she like designed and made that magazine, and it says something in Chinese on the front, but whatever it says is real. Like it's not okay. Like it says something real, but I don't know what it says in Chinese. Okay. But
oh my god. So they Sam and Dean are able to drain the fountain, and they don't find anything unusual in it. But as they're scratching their heads about, well, there's nothing here, Dean does notice that there's like an unusual looking coin in the bottom of the well. And he goes to pick it up, but he can't. Yeah. It's like, it's stuck, but it's not like stuck. It's not like cemented. It's like he can't pick it up.
Yeah.
No matter what. I mean, he came back with like a chisel and a hammer and broke the hammer and the chisel trying to get this thing out. And they're like, okay, there's some sort of hoodoo holding this coin in place.
Yeah.
So, a clue.
Yes, a clue. Sam, he ups his improv game a little bit here. You know, when the owner's kind of like looking over their shoulder like the entire time, being like, "What are you doing? Stop! You can't do this to my restaurant." And then Sam is like, "Hey, we'll slap you with violation like 14-68 or something."
Something pulled out of his butt.
Yes, but Sam is not usually the one to pull things out of his butt. That's why I mentioned it, because like like Dean even looks at him like not bad.
Gonna
Good
play
job.
the game now.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
You played a little yes and. I appreciate that.
But once Sam sees that the coin isn't coming up, he gets an idea. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I'll be right back. Essentially, he's like, you deal with this. I have to go check on something.
Yeah, he makes a terrible rubbing of it on a piece of paper.
Right? Yeah, he's like, here, you go research this.
Yeah, he like
it is like what?
Marks like half the coin on a piece of paper. You know, when you put a piece of paper over something, you like rub it over with a graphite pencil.
Rub a pencil. Yep.
It's
it's terrible. But like you wouldn't have been able to tell if it was a quarter or
no.
Yeah. So he gives that to Dean to go and research while Sam himself goes to go. Why he chooses to do this, I don't know. I don't quite understand why this scene is there. It's funny, but Sam runs back to the health club, into the showers where the ghosts were happening, and he is able to confront and find this. It's not a ghost. Turns out it's a kid. Some again, slightly prepubescent,
16-year-old
kid, who has wished himself invisible so that he could spy on naked women in the showers.
Yeah.
And he scares the kid enough that he scares him into visibility. So now he's like confronting a naked teenager in the women's showers. And this guy, I can't call him a little kid, but this teenager, great acting, know, just, intimidated by, Sam's height, and he's a grown man.
His handsomeness. And I'm sure he's like,
all the things that,
orders him to put on pants and to stay visible.
And to stop doing that.
Yes. So
and he confronts him about, you made a wish. He's like, you made a wish to be invisible. So he confronts him.
That's what you used your wish for, was to turn invisible.
Right.
I do like that it ended up being Sam who got to save naked women.
Right. So while Sam is confronting, naked kid in the women's bathroom, outside, Dean sees the bully kids again running, except this time they're running from the little boy. They're not chasing after that one little boy. They're now running from this little boy. And it's like, he's like, what? Again, he just has that look on his face, like, what is happening? And the kid stops and turns and sees Dean looking at him. He's like, "You got a problem, mister?"
Yeah.
And Dean's like, "Well, no." Completely unexpected, but no. And off the kid goes chasing after the three little boys again. And just then Dean's stomach goes, oh.
Yep, it's the universal noise of like, oh, something bad is gonna happen. It's from my tummy.
So back at the hotel.
Yeah, now we
Dean's
go to
barfing in the bathroom.
Meetup. Yes.
And he's like, oh yeah, wishes turn bad.
Very, very bad.
Very bad. He's barfing. But Dean has researched the coin before his guts turned on him. And it turns out that this coin is of Babylonian descent, but it's cursed.
Surprise, surprise.
And what does he say, that its Babylonian god is Tiamat?
Yes, the snake that's on it, or the serpenty looking thing that is engraved on it, is the god of primordial chaos named Tiamat.
So Tiamat is actually a goddess, a female goddess, an elemental being of mass waters, both bitter seawater to the heavenly waters of like floods and storms. Chaotic water essentially is her element. So exactly right, that Supernatural took this particular goddess and turned it into the chaos of water, which is throwing a cursed coin into a wishing well, turning the wishes while granting wishes, causing chaos with those wishes. Tiamat does exist.
Very
Babylonian.
Cool.
This motel that they're in, I don't know if it was called like the Chieftain or the Tall Totem Motel. It was a terrible Tall Totem, terrible stereotypical. I mean, it even had like wooden totems in the room, like in the corner of the room, giant like totem poles, and even some painted on the walls. And I was like, oh boy,
very over the top totemy.
Very totemy. But so whoever takes this coin and wishes it, not only do they get a wish, which then turns, chaotic, anybody else who then throws a coin into that body of water as a wishing well gets their wish, and thus creating the chaos. Not everybody should get their wishes granted, but that's what happens in this.
And also, the wishes eventually get twisted, right? So, like, you could wish for something like a delicious sandwich, but then, you'll get E. coli from that sandwich. And the only way to stop it is to have the OG wisher, the person who first threw in the coin, take it out again.
Right.
Then we're back at Audrey's with Teddy. He has had enough of this short little life.
He's written a goodbye suicide note on her chalkboard.
I feel so terrible laughing about suicide stuff. It was just so ridiculous.
It's so ridiculous. It's like goodbye cruel world type of thing.
Yeah.
And the camera swings from this chalkboard to the teddy bear, who has a shotgun in his mouth. The camera goes past him. He's crying. He's weeping. It pans past him to the corner of the room where we all know what's going to happen. There's going to be some sort of supernatural splatter onto these like beautiful light blue child rooms walls.
Yes. And there was a splatter, but it was like a floof splatter.
It was literally boom, not red blood. There was just
stuffing.
It was just fluff goes flying across the room. And when the camera comes back, there's like the smoking hole in the back of Teddy's head where all the white fluff has come out. And you look at Teddy's face and he's still alive. because he's a teddy bear and
Right.
doesn't have any brains to be blown out. And he realizes this and he shakes his fist in the air and goes, "Wah!" I mean, he can't even end his own life.
Oh,
So, I
this,
mean, his plaintive why is something I want to just yell a
yeah.
lot. Wah!
Why?
Shaking your fist to the
Oh
sky.
God. So
White.
this actually caused like not a huge fight, I shouldn't say. There was somebody at the network that like was really hesitant to like put this out there. Like
A
they were like,
suicidal teddy bear.
yeah, they were like, we can't show this on TV. And like everyone else was like, really?
We
With
have
all
to
of
show this on TV, right?
yeah,
With all the blood and gore that we show,
yes,
people
that's
being
exactly their
thrown
argument.
into
Like,
fans. And
do you see what we usually do?
do you see what you've let us get away with so
Yeah.
far? And it wasn't like the little girl was in the room when it happened.
I know. I
You
guess it
know,
was because it was like, but somebody's committing suicide. It's like, yeah, but it's a teddy bear.
it's a teddy bear, and he doesn't succeed in killing himself by suicide.
So,
But can you imagine being called into that meeting? Like the subject headers of all the memos. You know, Teddy suicide, Teddy blowing brains out.
yeah.
You know, need to discuss ASAP.
Yes.
Brilliant. Just gonna put that down. Brilliant supernatural. Thank you for that. So back at the motel, Dean is sleeping and like having his hell nightmares, his hell flashes. Sam walks in, wakes him up, and as Dean kind of sits up in bed, he reaches for that stolen bottle of booze, takes a big swig. You know, Sam sees this and is like, dude, you know, I
I'm not
recognize what's
stupid.
happening here.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, there's something going on. You're drinking, you're having nightmares, you know, what's all the denial? Dean quoted this. What did he say? No, I'm good. I'm like tan, rested, and ready. I thought that was a Michael McConaughey or a Matthew McConaughey quote.
Mhm.
Tan, rested, and ready is a Nixon reference.
Really?
Yes. Yes, tan, rested, and ready. Like he, after having a terrible time, I don't know if it was around the Watergate investigation, that he like Nixon took a vacation and then came back, and it was the headlines. It was the newspapers that noted that
tan,
Nixon
rested,
looked
and
tan,
ready.
rested, and ready.
Huh.
Yes, which I thought was hysterical. I totally thought it was Matthew McConaughey.
It sounds like it could be a McConaughey quote, but yeah, Dean blows him off again. You know, basically calls it a chick flick, you know, stop at the chick flick moment, or group therapy, whatever it was. It's like, let's just get back to the case, please. Let's just focus on this.
Please, yeah, please.
So
Sam does.
Their objective now is to find who was the first wisher. You know, they've kind of gone back about 2 weeks, like with the teddy bear and the invisible kid, and
right, and the lottery winner.
Yeah, the lottery winner. Who was the first one? And just then, you know, Dean is like reading the paper, and he was like, "Oh, how about this one?"
That they just happened to post in the paper.
Yes, yes. So there's a photo of our favorite PDA couple announcing their engagement from a month ago.
Their unlikely engagement announcement. True love, as Dean says, because there's a picture of them, and it's like he's a kind of a nerdy looking guy, right? He's not unattractive, but he's definitely not a Sam or a Dean. And Hope, who's pictured as the fiance, is this beautiful woman. So there's the question there of, you know, how does a 6 marry a 10 type of thing?
Right.
They don't say that. I'm saying that. So at Wes and Hope's house, Hope has prepared Wes a snack of an entire
Thanksgiving dinner
baked chicken meal. Yes. And he's like, "Oh, honey, you shouldn't have." She's like, "No, I wanted to." And then she says, "Oh, wait, I didn't want to. I had to."
Yeah.
Like I felt compelled. I had to do this for you.
Yeah.
Wes kind of sees he's not exactly happy with that statement from her that she had to. And he tries to ask her, like, "Well, were you happy to do it? Are you happy now?" And she anything that Hope says is, "I love you so much that, you know, Or
Right.
for our
Or
love, I will
related
do
to like,
anything.
yes, like for you, I will be happy for you. You know, he's like, do the things
Yeah.
that made you happy before, like baking. I don't know what you
What
used to
did you
like to do, but like
Yeah.
something made you happy, do it. And he's like, oh, is that what you want me to do? Is be happy?
Yeah.
I'll go do something,
I'm not
whatever you
happy.
want me to.
Yeah. Don't get angry at me. I'll be happier. I'll be
Yeah.
happier. Please.
Yeah.
I just want to make you, yeah.
She's acting very much
It's like,
like a fembot or something, you know. It's
yes, fembots. Very
yes,
Stepford
yeah.
wifey.
And the minute that he shows maybe a little bit of anger, or she's scared that he's going to be angry at her, you know, she like completely breaks
Mhm.
down. It's like, please don't be angry at me. That's the last thing I ever want.
Don't take your love away. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. She's not in fear of anger. She's in fear of their love going away, of him
Yeah.
taking their love from her.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just then the doorbell rings, and it's a Sam and Dean. I can't even say in disguise as, because they just said they're florists, and Hope lets them in.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah. And in walks Sam and Dean, like in their flannels, in their jeans, dead expression on their face. They're not even like, there's no flowers, they have no
Yeah.
pamphlets, there's
Yeah.
nothing. They're just ding dong, here we are.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
We're florists.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but Hope is thrilled. She's like, "Yay! I'll go get my folders." Yeah. So she goes and gets the wedding planning books, and Sam and Dean confront Wes, and there is no joy in their face. They are just ready for this to be done.
Yeah.
They're like, "So I see you have a coin collection. Missing
Mm-hmm.
one, you know."
Yep. Well, he
Before they get
recognizes.
a chance. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yes, he recognizes Sam from the restaurant, right?
Yeah, he's like, wait, you guys are the health inspectors. And they cheekily say, yep, we're health inspectors and florists on the side. You know?
Yep, and teddy bear doctors too.
Yep.
Um, and then before they get to really grilling him, Hope walks back in with her, stack of
Mm-hmm.
wedding planning stuff. They're like, "So, Hope, tell us, how did you guys meet?" And trying to basically out Wes and make him, confess to what he's done. And she's like, "I don't know. I just, we grew up in the same town. I never really saw him. And then suddenly one day I just noticed him glowing,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just drawn to him." And she, like, while she's explaining this, she's like drawing herself closer and closer to him, and then starts like kissing him, like, "Okay, bye, like, I'll go make us some
Yes.
tea, bye, kiss, bye,
Yeah.
kiss, bye." And then
Yeah.
like they're like making out. It's like embarrassing for everybody involved except
Yeah.
for her,
Yeah.
because she just can't help herself. And so, longer than was necessary, I think, they kiss.
Yes.
And finally she breaks away, or Wes breaks her away, sends her
Mm-hmm.
off to the kitchen, and Sam and Dean are left to talk things over.
Yeah,
with
they
Wes.
just kind of stare at him and he's like, okay, fine. So he tells them the story. He's like, my grandfather brought it to me from South Africa. He said it was a wishing coin, but not to ever use it. But then when he died, I thought, well, why not? So I used it.
Yep. And what they don't realize is that Hope is actually overhearing this in the kitchen. And so Sam and Dean are like, "Well, too bad, you have to unwish this, and we would like you to go with us to the Chinese restaurant
Yes.
to remove the coin and unwish." And Wes is like, "No way, I'm not gonna unwish this, beautiful woman who's agreed to marry me, no." And that's when they, like, the Winchesters pull out their guns, and they're like, "Please,
Yes.
we really want you to come with us.
Yes.
You are going to come with us."
Yeah.
What I love about this next scene is Sam and Dean are in the Impala with Wes in the back seat, and Wes is like slumped down. He's like defeated, slightly scared, but he's like, "But why?
Yeah.
Why do I have
He is
why can't
pouting. He is pouting that he cannot get to keep his wish. And that's like, it's not fair. You guys are handsome and it's easy for you.
And of course they try to deny it. They're like, "You don't know how bad we have it. It's not easy being us." Yeah, wah,
Yeah.
right?
I mean, besides the
But-
whole like trip to hell thing and everything, but
Well, yes.
the
I'm
lady
just
thing is
thinking of
probably
their
not very hard to.
The lady thing is not very difficult. But what they end up saying to him is, "You're not supposed to get what you want."
You're not supposed to get what you want, and also this relationship that you have with Hope is actually not functional or healthy because you're just telling her what to feel. So how do you
look at her? So yeah, be careful what you wish for is the
moral of
gist.
the story here.
Yeah, exactly. And as they're driving down the road, Dean like thumps something with his car. Everyone looks in the rear view. They don't see anything. But we hear that same
We hear and see, like, he turns visible, and he's like, oh, it's a poor little redheaded naked kid who did in not fact stay visible. So I guess that was his punishment for.
So Wes still doesn't want to get, even with all of this, Wes still doesn't want to give up the wish. He doesn't see all the chaos that his first wish is causing, even though they just thump somebody with the car. But in town, they come to a stop sign, and in front of them, they see that little kid who made a wish in the wishing well flip an SUV that has those 3 other little boys inside it.
Yeah.
And you flips this car. Dean says, is this an example of the chaos that, this will qualify? And the little kid, as he flips the car, yells up to the camera, which is like pulled up on a crane shot, like, kneel before Todd, which is from Superman 2, kneel before Zod.
Very cute.
Yep, that would be the chaos.
Yep.
So Dean gets out to help the kids.
Yeah, the boys split up. Dean stays with Kneel before Todd, and Sam goes on to take Wes to Lucky Chen's to take the coin out. Wes is still just like, oh my god, what? What did I just see?
Right.
And Dean tries to calm Todd down, who is like, these boys bully me every single day. It's unbearable. I can't take it.
And Dean can't truly sympathize with him because Dean was always the bully. And he's like, well, no, you're right. I can't sympathize, or I don't know what, because you're you and I'm me. And that, of course, sets Todd off, who like uppercuts Dean. Dean is like failing spectacularly at helping Todd. Yes. He gets thrown across the parking lot into a pile of trash. Oh, but before that, that's right. I forgot this. Before he gets punched in the face by little Todd, he says, with great power comes great responsibility, because he says, you seem to have these superpowers that, obviously these other guys don't have them. With great power comes great responsibility, which is from Spider-Man, which Sam Raimi directed, in which Ted Raimi, who is Wes, is his brother. And Ted was actually in Spider-Man too.
Yes. He's in like all of Sam Raimi's movies. He's in like all of the Evil Dead movies.
Yes.
He's in
anything that Sam Raimi directed, he was in, which that is a good brother to have.
Yes, exactly.
So if you recognize Wes from this episode, it's because he's been in every Evil Dead, not every Superman, but Superman 1, 2, and Spider-Man 1, 2, and 3.
Yes, the original ones with Tobey Maguire.
So Todd takes exception to this rule of with great power comes great responsibility.
Doesn't even let him finish. Does not even let him finish. It's before he can say responsibility. He just like, nope.
Nope. So meanwhile, while Dean's getting his ass kicked by a little boy, Wes still wants to have what he has.
Yeah, he's still resisting taking the coin out. They're standing they get out of the car, they're standing in front of the restaurant, and he's like, what, why can't I get what I want? And Sam's like, that's not how life works.
That's not life.
And before he can really finish his, Bedside Sam solo speech, he is struck by lightning.
Yeah. Out of the clear blue sky, literally.
It's one
out of the clear blue sky.
A little black rain cloud. Like, zaps him.
Zaps him out of his shoes, out of his trademark Pumas. He gets killed. So this is the second time, right, that Sam has died?
Yes.
In the series?
Yeah.
Dean, we lost count because of, the mystery spot.
Right.
But boom, so Sam was murdered by Aldous Hodge, and now he's been killed by lightning, by Hope. And Wes sees, Sam's smoking body in front of him, is like, okay, shouldn't do this. So he walks into the Chinese restaurant, and he sees Hope there standing in front of the well, and he's like, oh my God, what have you done? Did you just wish a man dead? And she said, yes. He was going to take our love. He wanted you to wish away our love. And she is distraught. Yep. Distraught. And he's like, oh, Wes finally sees. Little boy flipping a car over, not enough. Yeah. But, man being struck by lightning in front of him is enough for him to change his mind.
we cut back to Dean, he's still fighting with this like little kid.
And losing. Now he's being choked out.
He punches the kid and it like does nothing.
Does nothing. It's like punching a superhero. Just head turns and then they look back at you like, okay.
Yep.
And so Todd starts to choke out Dean.
So then back in the restaurant, Hope is crying. It's like, I love you more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love you more than my life, more than your life, more than, like, that's the number one thing that matters. And then this is when Wes is like, okay.
Reluctantly.
He does. Yeah, it took a while. And it didn't take until the woman when he was finally like, oh, this is not the woman that I want to be with.
Right. She doesn't love me.
Yeah.
For me. She loves me because she's being forced to.
Yeah.
So he reaches into the well and pulls out the coin. And it comes loose. It comes loose with no chisel, no hammer, and it just comes out.
No.
And you see the look on Hope's face changes. It relaxes and turns a little bit more like, not utterly confused, but more like
a little dazed and confused.
Dazed and confused. Yeah. Like, what am I doing in a Chinese restaurant? Yeah. and who are you?
Yeah.
And Wes tries like one more desperate little, hi honey type of thing. And she's like, do I know you?
Yeah.
And so there's nothing left of the wish.
Yeah.
It's gone. But
also,
at the same time,
Sam wakes up on the ground. So yay, he's alive.
Yay.
And Todd seems to lose the strength in his grip. So no more superpowers for Todd. Dean's like, great, it worked. However, I'll help you out, dude.
Yeah, because he sees how scared now Todd is. Because Todd goes from being strong to realizing that he no longer has the superpowers, and now he's that scared little kid again.
Yeah.
But he's like, okay. Dean says, okay, I know how to fix.
Yeah.
So he pretends that Todd is still beating him up. And in front of those little boys who are now finally crawling out of the flipped over SUV, they're like, and Dean says, don't mess with this kid. Wow. Okay, enough. Stop beating me up. Don't mess with this kid. And so he's basically put the fear of Todd in these little boys who we're hoping have learned their lesson about bullying for Todd. Right. And Todd seems to be relieved, maybe a little thankful for that.
All right.
A note about this kid who played Todd. I feel like we kind of have to mention this because we do a deep dive sometimes on some of the guest actors on the show, especially when they do such a good job, and I'll highlight the guest actors who I love or I've seen from other shows that I watch and stuff. Well, when I was doing the research on this kid, because I was like, good kid, Supernatural, always casting, great child actors. You'll recognize him from other TV shows. He was in
Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Riverdale.
I think
Riverdale. That was the one.
Two most other well-known things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he did not go on to have the type of starry career that other Supernatural actors have had. And I just want to point out, I was a little disappointed in the path that his life took. So that's all I'll say about him. He was great as this kid. But we should point out that he unfortunately went down a different path after his TV episodes. Yeah. And
it's like the only reason we highlight him here is because that was many, 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 many years before that. And at this point in his life, he did really good in this. And he's very memorable in this part. There are gifs everywhere, that the Kneel Before Todd.
Kneel Before Todd is canon,
is
famous. Absolute canon. Yes.
But it didn't want to just overlook. It's like, oh, but he did a terrible thing.
He did a terrible, awful. And I'll leave it at that. It did. I will admit, Sammy, that originally watching these episodes, I loved it. And then when I went back and started doing the research, I was like, oh, son of a gun, son of a bitch. It colored, his actions as an adult, colored how I started viewing the episode.
Right.
I would like to, leave that by the roadside and say, gifted in this moment and a great episode. So, yeah.
Right. So now we're back at the restaurant. Hope is like walking out. She walks away. Wes walks out, sees Sam and hands him the coin. And
walks away.
I know, yeah. And Sam, I think, kind of feels bad for him, too. It's a nice wide, like, walk away shot, where you can see Sam just standing there, and poor Wes is, like, doing the sad,
dejected walk away. Yeah, they don't even give him a ride back to his house.
No.
He just he needs some alone time.
Yeah.
And that's the last time we see him.
Yeah.
Wes just walks out of frame, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
So all over town, the wishes are being undone. Whatever people have been wishing for is undoing.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not just like, okay, no more wishes. It's that whatever was wished for is unwished, which is why Sam gets to get up off the sidewalk.
Yeah, which is good.
which is good. The headline on the newspaper that that Dean has no longer says like winning lottery guy. It says the guy's name, George Newman, won on a counterfeit ticket. Like it says his name.
Yeah, so it's not like things are being like erased back in time. It's like the wishes are fixing themselves.
Yes.
So it's not like, oh, he never won the lottery ticket. It turns out that ticket was fake.
Right.
Little Audrey walks by holding her now back to normal size teddy bear with his head wound taped shut on the back.
Yes, with like foam, like fuzzy still like coming out of it, but a giant piece of red tape on the back of his blown out head.
Walking with her parents, who are completely
sunburned. Yep, back from Bali. Yeah.
Gives a wave to Dean. She's like,
okay, look,
thanks
everything's
for fixing my teddy bear.
Yes. Sam had the coin melted down, so hopefully it won't be able to harm anybody anymore. And this was a great scene. This is Sam and Dean standing on a beautiful picturesque pier over a lake with the mountains in the background.
Yeah.
And Sam seems to be like, okay, that's the wrap up. Let's go. But Dean actually says, wait, I need to talk to you. So it's Dean who approaches Sam and says, I shouldn't have lied to you. I need to stop lying to you. And he admits that he does remember hell and he does remember his times in hell. But that's all he's going to say about it. He says, I'm not going to share it. I'm not going to tell you. And for a number of reasons. One is Sam will never understand what Dean experienced in hell. There's no way to make somebody understand. And he doesn't want to burden him with the horrible that was hell.
Yeah.
And he's like, all right, so that's it. We're done talking about it. I won't lie to you about it anymore, but I am not going to share this with you. I don't want to burden you with it. There's no making me feel better.
Yeah, because poor Sam is just like, I just want to help. It's like, you cannot shoulder this alone. It's not fair for anyone to shoulder anything alone. And Dean is, no, I really do have to. Yeah. Which is not healthy to do, but
no. But it's also what Castiel said at the end of that other episode, which was, I don't envy you this burden.
Yeah.
Castiel knows what it is. Castiel knows what's in store for him down the line. And, even the angels don't envy him. So there's no way that Dean would put that on Sam.
Yeah.
And, as I mentioned earlier in the episode, there's so many silent moments, most of them comical in this episode. But this episode ends in silence. And it's really moving. It's you see Sam turn, you see Dean turn, and Dean starts to walk away. And he doesn't leave Sam behind. Sam actually just kind of falls into step behind him. And they walk off, together. But it was just very telling that through this whole episode, everything's fun and games, until the truth is revealed, so to speak. And then it's silence again. But it's a heartfelt thinking silence. So I loved this episode. I love that the monster of the week led to fun chaos, instead of chaos. There's other little fun things about the town that the set deck guys did. Like the name of the shop next to the Chinese restaurant was the Hot Spot. It was supposed to be like a Wi-Fi cafe. And then next to that was another shop called wait for it. A Fetish. I thought for a second I thought it was Fatouche. Like I thought it was a Mediterranean restaurant, but I think it was Fetish. I think the name of the restaurant was Fetish next to Hot Spot. little fun things like that, that I think that this was a fun episode for Supernatural to do. But also hit us with the emotional heavy nuggets of what's coming next. This was fun, but there's something big on the horizon. And Dean is not going to handle it well. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I forgot to mention this. This was a nugget that the night before they started filming this episode, Jared was at a party drinking and ended up accidentally eating raw spare ribs. And so the next day for shooting, he was so violently ill in his trailer that most of the shots of like the restaurant scenes where it'd go back and forth between Sam, Dean, was Dean doing those scenes, Jensen by himself with a photo double to act against.
Oh, wow.
And that they had to go back later when Jared was not barfing in his studio.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that he was violently ill through most of this episode, which is funny given that Dean is the one who was, violently ill in his trailer during, so anytime that there was the two of them together, they had to go back and do it. So how
do you accidentally eat raw spare ribs?
How drunk was he?
I don't know. Was he trying to cook them and then just didn't cook them and then
I didn't look at any details.
I don't know if I have ever gotten that drunk.
Jared ate raw ribs while drunk. I also wanted to note that I actually liked Jared's hair in this episode. It's like the beginning of a cute shaggy look for him, and not cute as in little boy look, but like I really liked what was going on with his look here. Yeah, because later it goes longer and a little bit more severe, and I'm not digging that as much as I'm liking the look he had in this episode. Personal throw out there. Usually
the evolution of Jared's hair in Supernatural.
But yeah, so don't eat raw red meat before shooting an episode. Yeah.
Or anytime.
Yeah.
Maybe good advice not to ever eat raw meat. Unless it hits that unless it's got like raw lemon juice or something on it. Yeah. Tartar. Yes, I also liked this episode. I love the I just love the looks that they were giving of what did we get ourselves into? What?
Yep.
What?
that whole like face acting that they do
there's a lot of face acting brilliant. I really enjoyed.
Yep. Comic timing, comic looks, and not like what? Comedy, but just like little micro.
Yeah, just little eyebrow.
Yep.
Eyebrow acting.
Very good.
Also, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, because you're usually the one that is like following these. I feel like in this episode was the most impersonations that they've done, or maybe an impersonation.
Oh my
or
gosh, the aliases.
Aliases, yes, thank you.
They were.
There's an author. He was an author. They're health inspectors, FBI agents, teddy bear doctors, and florists.
Florists, yeah, it was 5. Yeah, it was a lot. And not every one of them some of them had the same badge. Some of them had no badge. And some of them didn't even have like a uniform. I mean, they just said who they were. But 5. Yep. I had to go back after because I forgot about the author when I was writing the list. I was like, and he said he was a book writer writing Supernatural. You are correct. I got to the point in this episode where I actually went on to watch the next one too. Because every once in a while for me with Supernatural, I can usually get to the end of an episode and be like, okay, I'm good. I don't want to go on to the next. But on this one, I was like, I kind of got to see what's next. Not because there was a cliffhanger, but they're starting to dig down again. I'm like, okay, what's next? Yeah. And so I watched the next one, and it was a mistake because I had to stop. And I didn't want to stop.
Speaking of our next one, it is I Know What You Did Last Summer. So
was
a
Jennifer
title
Love
ripped
Hewitt in it?
straight from a movie.
Not even trying to hide.
Didn't even make a play on words like "Are you there, God? It's me, Dean Winchester," or "It's the
Right.
Great
The
Pumpkin,
Great
Sam
Pumpkin.
Winchester."
Nope. I know what you did last summer. I have to go and watch that movie now.
I hadn't seen it. Add it to my
And
list
isn't
of
there?
things I haven't seen.
Add it to the list. All right. And when we hang up here, when you stop recording, I'm gonna send you the link to the Raiders scene.
Okay. Next week we will talk about "I Know What You Did Last Summer," which we will meet another angel. And you know that about the episode, right?
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yep. Thank you for tuning in to us this week. Please be sure to subscribe to us anywhere you can find podcasts. Also, give us a rating if you feel so compelled on Apple. It would be great. You can also follow us anywhere on social media. We are at Salt and Burn This everywhere, including YouTube. You can download our episodes there and listen to them. So we'll wrap it up for this week, and we will see you next time for "I Know What You Did Last Summer." Not the movie, but the Supernatural episode. Just to be clear. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the clarity.
Bye.
Bye.